So, on this month's Reiki Share and this week's podcast, we are talking about the new world peace energy. And want to give you a little bit of information about my experiences with it. It is an absolutely exciting new energy, and we'll be sharing an empowered in the river of peace experience with you all as well. I'm really excited about that this week and this month. I just want to thank you all for being here. And before we begin, I'll let you know that in May and June, I have a full lineup of classes, level 1 and 2 Reiki Masters, Reiki 1 and 2 Masters, Karuna Reiki, and Animal Communication. Those are all actually being taught both online and in person here at the farm. So if anybody wants to come and join us at the farm for any of those classes, you can. And if they don't fit into your schedule and you'd like to join us online, they will be offered in the Atlantic time zone. So I'd love to have you join. So I want to start off and just tell you a little bit about this new energy. And just some of the folks that are here tonight joined me last night for a webinar. And if you are at the master level, if you have studied an online master class with any of the ICRT teachers, you're eligible to take the webinar. And even though it's already passed, if that's something that is of interest to you, I'll put a link to my webinar in the podcast. There's also a webinar that William and Colleen did through the ICRT that's not terribly expensive. It's $35 US, and the same for my webinar. And you can certainly get upgraded through either of those webinars if you would like to upgrade your energy. But what's happened is that a new energy has come in. And the way that this happened was so interesting. It happened for me suddenly and unexpectedly during a Reiki session. I was doing a Reiki session with one of my clients, and I was very aware as we began her meditation that there was a new energy coming in. And the energy actually had me share it with her in an ignition. And what was interesting was that it looked like it was reversing the polarity of empathy. So in the same way that many empaths bring in energy, sort of dense or negative energies from others, and then process it through our bodies. And although Reiki helps us with that, that just seems to be something that a lot of us do automatically, not intentionally, but automatically. And at the same time or in the same way that used to happen, that we would pull dense or dark energies, it showed a reversal of that, so that instead light was coming through us and being pushed out. And it was a very active energy. It wasn't passive. It was an energy that would basically illuminate the darkness or the density in anybody around us. And then they could choose from there whether to stay illuminated or whether they were more comfortable in the dark and pull more dark energies back. So it was so interesting, and I didn't really understand it, and I was very aware that it hadn't come in the whole way, that it was just partially in. And I'm also, because of our experiences with animal Reiki, I'm used to waiting until the energy is ready for the next step. So I was in the process of waiting. And then a few weeks ago, Colleen messaged us, Colleen Benelli, and said, look, William, there's been a new energy coming in, and William Rand wants to have a webinar with the licensed teachers and share it with you so that we can all begin sharing it and teaching it in our classes. And I thought, that maybe, I didn't think they were related at all, because they were very clear that this new energy was a world peace energy. But I thought, maybe there's something shifting and changing, and maybe that's why the new energy showed up for me as well. So we were scheduled to receive this on a Wednesday, and I talked to Colleen on a Monday, and she said, Pam, that sounds an awful lot like the energy that has come in through world peace that William has been bringing in. And it could be that you're just getting another perspective on it. And with that being said, we know a bit about this energy, but of course, we're just starting to use it. So we're just learning about it. And yet it's such an important energy that we really want to share it with you all as soon as possible. Now, the way that this energy evolved or developed is that William has always been concerned about the Cold War and nuclear war, and as so many people are. And although there are other wars happening in the world, a lot of people are very focused on the war that is currently taking place in the Ukraine because, unlike some of the other wars, this one has the potential to escalate into nuclear proportions. And so there is a lot of concern over this particular war. And I know that a little over a month ago, when we did our last Reiki share together, even though the energy that came in it was explained to me in terms of empathy, I was very guided to share it with you all in a way that was directed toward world peace. And I got a lot of messages around that. And if anybody wants to check out that podcast from a month ago, the messages were all very guided, and it was about releasing the duality. And it was also about the importance of achieving inner peace and peace within, because our outer world is always going to resemble our inner. And so while there is that inner conflict that so many of us experience, there is also going to be conflict in our outer world, things like wars and disagreements and things like that. And so looking back, I actually pulled up the transcript of that, and looking back at the messages, I realized, okay, I think I had an idea that this energy was peace all along, looking at the way that the messages came in. So go ahead and check that out if you'd like to hear some of the messages that came in earlier around this energy. And then I'd just like to tell you a bit about what William and Colleen discovered. So they basically, we're all very aware that Reiki evolves. Reiki has evolved from the beginning. It began evolving from Yusui Sensei. It evolved between Yusui Sensei and Dr. Hayashi. And actually, Yusui Sensei encouraged Hayashi to bring in the evolution with the energy. Yusui Sensei was very focused on enlightenment, or on Senditsume, whereas Hayashi was very focused on the medical aspect of Reiki and wanted Yusui to develop it. And we said, no, you develop that. And so in my classes, we talk about the evolution of Reiki. Hayashi brought in a lot of new developments in Reiki that we all benefit from now. Mrs. Takata brought in several innovations. So a lot of evolution happened when Mrs. Takata started to teach the oral tradition, the hand positions. She brought in many things and that added to the practice of Reiki. And then William, when he first learned Reiki, it was actually often taught as a very static, very like, this is how it is. It doesn't evolve, that type of a style of teaching. And yet he very clearly heard that the energy would continue to evolve. And he heard that from the beginning and decided to honor that and make that one of his key understandings with Reiki. And so when he received a lot of symbols and he didn't know what to do with them, and many of the symbols were the same, and it just seemed very odd. They were coming from different students that would bring him these symbols that they had been given from their Reiki masters. When the guidance told him to work with the symbols and figure out which were the most effective and develop a new Reiki system from that, in the 1990s, the late 90s, he did. He assembled some of his most sensitive students, and they worked with it, and that's where Karuna Reiki came from. We all know that in 2014, Holy Fire showed up, and that was another evolution in Reiki, and it's just been a fantastic and wonderful addition to the Yusui Reiki that we all practice. And then the holy fire energy continued to evolve. And for a while, we were putting numbers on it. It evolved from Holy Fire 1 to 2 to 3. And then when it went online, I spoke with William and he said, I decided not to call it Holy Fire 4 because we know that this energy is going to continue to evolve. And eventually it's going to sound ridiculous if we have Holy Fire 387. So he decided at that point to just be really careful about adding numbers. And so it became the online version of Reiki. And anybody who has that online version of Reiki, in other words, if you have taken a class since COVID, since we started teaching online in April, you are eligible to do the upgrade if you would like. And again, I'll put a link to that in my podcast in case any of you would like to receive the recordings and the certificate to go along with that, to be upgraded to this energy. And so we know that Reiki has continued to evolve. And so one of the things that Colleen and William decided to do is ask Reiki, what do we do in the face of the war in the Ukraine? The same as they asked, what do we do when COVID happened and they were told, you move the classes online? They asked, what do we do? And they were told that there was a powerful new energy that was ready to come in that had the ability to assist us with not just the war in the Ukraine, but with peace on the planet. And so interestingly, the experience that we're going to do tonight, when the energy came in for me, it wasn't gentle. And in fact, it rattled me a little. And I talked with Colleen shortly, actually the very next day, and I said, look, I haven't really slept. And that never happens to me. I really sleep easily and well. And I was pretty rattled. And she said, let me share the Empowered in the River of Peace experience with you and see what happens. And that really did settle the energy for me. And but I received some really important messages that very first time that I did this experience that we're about to do. And I'd just like to share them with you if I could. Initially, because Empowered in the River of Peace, the meditation itself is very similar to the Empowered in the River of Life experience that anybody who has studied a recent Reiki masterclass is familiar with. This is one of our key experiences in our master class. And so when she originally led me to the River of Peace, I had a look at it and I said, oh, it's the same as the River of Life. And I heard, no, it's not. Look closer. So I looked closer and I realized it was a slightly different hue, that the River of Life always had a blue sparkly look to it, just an underlying blue. And to me, it may not to you, but to me, the River of Peace had a very sparkly pink under hue. And I thought, oh, that is different. That does look different. I see now. And it looked very inviting and very beautiful. And I really was excited to get in it, but I realized it was different than what we had been doing. And then immediately the energy lifted me up and gave me an aerial view. And from that aerial view, I could see that the River of Peace and the River of Life, just a little ways down the river, came together in a Y. And then they flowed together as one river. And I thought that was a really important message that, oh my gosh, in my lifetime, peace and life are coming together. It is going to be possible to live a life of absolute peace and to be in a place of peace. And that really corresponded with what I had been hearing anytime that I was praying and sending energy to the Ukraine and to the other wars, the 21 other wars that are happening on the planet right now. And there's also some other unrest that people are concerned could escalate into wars as well. And so I've been sending Reiki to all of that. And any time that I've been getting the message that it's going to come together in peace. It has the potential to come, not that it's going to, but that it has the potential to come together into peace. And I kept hearing the word everlasting peace. And I thought, that can't be right. Humans aren't that peaceful. We seem to like to argue and fight and make things difficult for ourselves. So I didn't think that was correct, but I kept checking in and I kept still getting the word everlasting peace. And after I checked a few times and the answer didn't change, I realized that we really do have the potential to move into everlasting peace. Shortly after that, we did our webinar upgrade a couple days later with William. And I realized that this peace energy is the solution to and I realized, okay, I do think everlasting peace is possible if this energy can spread around the world. And I've always been like more recently, and since I've been doing Reiki, I've been pretty calm and pretty peaceful. But I have to say that now that the energy of peace has really settled in me from the webinar, which took place, it would be 2 weeks ago tonight, actually, I can't believe the amount of peace and relaxation that I feel. I'm not sure if I'm going to get anything done from now on because I just feel so very peaceful and just chill and relaxed about everything. So hopefully I will get back to the Reiki business book again soon, but for now, I'm not too worried about it. I'm really excited to share with you all, not the ignition, because that's really at the master level. So that would occur during the webinar. But I do have the opportunity to share with you the Healing in the River of Peace experience, or Empowered in the River of Peace, sorry. And there's a little bit about this experience that I want to let you know. This is a really useful experience for anyone who is feeling anxiety or fear or discomfort of any kind. Somebody that I know is Ukrainian and her family has been caught up in this war. And when she experienced this, it just settled everything. And even from that heightened state, she was able to ground and calm and be able to process in a way that was much more effective than what she had been able to when she was feeling anxious and frightened. And another thing that we notice about this experience is that it lasts. So when you've had this experience, not only will it settle the peace within you, but that peace is there. You could certainly listen to it as many times as you wish, but the experience lasts. It's not temporary. This energy is also very active. And so we often think of peace as being very passive, but it's not. It's a peace that reaches out from us to others. And it's a very active, very powerful energy, even as it is peaceful. Does anybody have any questions at all about any of that before I move on? No? Okay. So really from here then, I'd like to move into the Empowered by the River of Peace experience. It is a longer experience. You're going to be in the silence for at least 25 to 30 minutes. And that's just in order for the energy to just address anything within us that is not peaceful, anything within us that is in duality or that has conflict. And so the healing energies are so much more powerful than what we've had access to before. And it's specifically designed to bring peaceful feelings in anybody who feels anxious or fearful about world events, for instance. And it empowers Reiki people to send the same peace manifesting energies anywhere in the world to foster peace and friendly relationships between the people and the governments of the world. Besides bringing an incredible amount of personal and world peace this is also going to be an experience that we use in classes as well, in our master classes. So I'll tell you a little bit about the River of Peace. There's a sacred mountain range where the peaks of the mountains are so tall that they reach up into the higher dimensions of consciousness. The rain and the snow that fall on these mountains come from the highest spiritual source. And then small streams of this sacred water flow down the mountains and over beautiful waterfalls, then flow together to form a sacred river. The river also flows through a volcanic area where it's warmed to jacuzzi temperatures. The water in the River of Peace is crystal clear and completely pure. It unites us with potent spiritual energies that feel safe, completely safe, and it also unites us with all living things. It awakens us to our authentic human spirit, our authentic human gifts, talents, skills, and higher consciousness are then revealed in our daily life. A new sense of belonging fills our sense of well-being. And because the river comes from the highest heavens, if you choose to, you will be able to breathe underwater. And when you breathe in the water, the sacred water flows completely through you, creating peace in every part of your being. Some of you might even notice holy fire, the flames of the holy fire under the water, but they don't burn. They're soothing and they empower you with peace. And you may have a completely different experience than what I'm leading you through. And you may be guided to go into a different direction, even as I lead you through that meditation, even a different direction than what I'm leading you through. Go ahead and follow that will be the experience that you need. Okay? Any questions before we go in? Okay. Well, I'm just going to invite you. Oh, did you have a question? No?
Not so much a question, but a comment. This is just so well timed with everything going on for me right now. I'm really looking forward to this.
I'm excited too. Thank you. I think it's well timed for a lot of people. I think a lot of us needed this energy right now. Don't you guys think so? Yeah, I think it's perfect. Well, guys, I'm going to invite you to get comfortable, and you can turn your videos off if you'd like. And if any of you have some nice music to play, I invite you to go ahead and do that as well. And so this is the Empowered by the River of Peace experience. I invite you to imagine that it is a beautiful, sunny day and that you're barefoot, walking through a beautiful forest. And as you breathe into yourself, imagine that you are breathing in the life essence of the forest. And with each step that you take, imagine the earth's energies are flowing up through the bottoms of your feet. As you walk along, allow yourself to experience the living things in the forest, including the trees, plants, flowers, and grass, and to merge with the forest's harmony and peace. And as you continue to walk along, you notice that it is getting lighter up ahead, and you realize you're coming to the edge of the forest. As you leave the forest, in front of you is a beautiful river. It is the River of Peace. Beautiful flowers are growing along the riverbank, and there is a path following alongside the river. Follow that path alongside the river. And as you walk along the path, you feel the beautiful energy of the sacred water, and you feel yourself becoming one with all living things. Eventually, you come to a place where you can easily enter the water. As you walk into the water, it begins swirling around your feet. You pause here and you realize that this river contains an unusual feeling of calmness. And so you drink from the river of peace. And you feel soothing, peaceful feelings flow through you. You realize it is very safe here, and you feel completely at ease. So you enter the water completely and feel it flowing around you. And the light from the highest heavens is shining on you as you swim and float and dive into the river's depths. And as you swim underwater, you realize you can breathe the water. And as you do so, the powerful, peaceful feelings of the river of peace flow through your entire being. The river of peace is guiding you now. Allow yourself to be guided by the river of peace. And you can continue with your experience as long as you feel guided to do. But whenever you are ready, take a couple of deep breaths. Bring your attention to your eyes, then slowly open your eyes and come back. And you can take some time to write about your experiences in your notebook. I want to thank you for joining us today, for being the bright light that you are in the world. Namaste.